To give you an idea of what I mean by tough love, think of Vince Lombardi, who for me personified it. From when I was 10 years old until I was 18, Lombardi was the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. With limited resources, he led his team to 5 NFL championships. He won 2 NFL Coach of the Year awards, and many still call him the best coach of all time. Lombardi loved his players and he pushed them to be great. I admired and still admired how uncompromising his standards were. His players, their fans, and he himself all benefit from his approach. I wish Lombardi had written out his principles for me to read. Good morning, everybody. Hope you all had a wonderful start to the day. It is time for some more reading. Let's quickly have a look. There is somebody else joining. There we go. And quickly pin myself to the page. And we'll close this one. And then we are ready to go. Hope everybody's been having an absolutely amazing start to the day so far. I was watching a show not long ago that talked about the fact that we only have this moment right now, and that this is where we can decide what we are going to achieve from it, whether we make it something positive, whether we make it something negative, whether we embrace the moment or reject the moment, and whether we do something that gets us closer to our goals or whether we do the things that don't get us closer to our goals. So that was something fun to get us started with. But now let's go into Principles by Ray Dalio, which is going to be in mirror image for those of you who are on Bigo. Drayson Rule, thank you for joining and I really appreciate your support. Now let's get started with the next section, which we're in work principles. And we're going to be talking about tough love is effective for achieving both great work and great relationships. I am looking forward to this section because I'm a little bit less of the tough love kind of person. And I definitely don't like getting the tough love so much. But let's see what comes up out of this chapter. I am very open-minded to learning new things and seeing whether there are certain things that are going to help me to improve. And hopefully you improve from them as well. And Kiss Kika, ODPER, and Clown have also joined. Welcome to you. Let's get started with the reading and let's see what we learn. To give you an idea of what I mean by tough love, think of Vince Lombardi, who for me personified it. From when I was 10 years old until I was 18, Lombardi was the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. With limited resources, he led his team to 5 NFL championships. He won 2 NFL Coach of the Year awards, and many still call him the best coach of all time. Lombardi loved his players, and he pushed them to be great. I admired and still admired how uncompromising his standards were. His players, their fans, and he himself all benefit from his approach. I wish Lombardi had written out his principles for me to read. A. In order to be great, one can't compromise the uncompromisable. Yet I see people doing it all the time, usually to avoid making others or themselves feel uncomfortable, which is not just backward but counterproductive. Putting comfort ahead of success produces worse results for everyone. I both love the people I work with and push them to be great, and I expect them to do the same with me. From the very beginning, I felt that the people I worked with at Bridgewater were a part of my extended family. When they or members of my family got sick, I put them in touch with my personal doctor to make sure that they were well taken care of. I invited all of them to stay at my house in Vermont on weekends and loved it when they took me up on it. I celebrated their weddings and the births of their children with them and mourned the losses of their loved ones. But to be clear, this was no love fest. We were tough on each other too, so we could all be as great as we could be. I learned that the more caring we gave each other, the tougher we could be on each other, and the tougher we were on each other, the better we performed, and the more rewards there were for us to share. This cycle was self-reinforcing. I found that operating this way made the lows less low and the highs higher. It even made the bad times better than the good ones in some important ways. So I love the idea of family, but having said that, In my case, it's a little bit interesting because I'm an only child. And for me, family is not really as big of a thing. Um, I am less motivated by family. I don't speak to my family that much. Most of my family is overseas, all the way over in Europe. So I hardly ever speak to them. And if people didn't remind me sometimes, I would almost forget to call my mom. But I think family is a great way to be able to set things up business wise because it allows people to bond, it allows people to do some really amazing things. There used to be a man that I knew, and he had a business in the city. It was a $2 shop. But he had lots and lots of these $2 shops, and he had a central warehouse out somewhere near Campbelltown, I believe, which is out west, far away from the city. And this distribution center used to have about 150, 200 staff, I think it was. And every week he would put on a lunch for the staff so that they could all get together, have lunch together, and do some really amazing things. And so they would get together and sit down for their lunch, and they would chat and they would talk to other people, and he would organize it so that they would get to know new people that they didn't know yet. And everybody knew each other really well. One day he got to the point where he wanted to sell the business, or was forced a little bit into selling the business. And when he sold the business, the new owners looked at it and looked at this lunch and said, holy moly, this company is spending, I think they were spending about $8,000 on this lunch because they were providing all the food and the entertainment and everything for this lunch. Now, compared to the income of the company, it was absolutely nothing. It was a really small amount. To some people, it might be considered a little bit excessive and a little bit high, but it was what the company was spending, and they weren't losing profitability really, because what was happening was that they were still making way more than this $8,000. Now, the new owners came in and they took this $8,000, looked at it and said, oh my goodness me, this expense is way too high. And so they stopped the lunches. And what ended up happening was that when the lunches stopped, people didn't communicate as much. New people would join the company and wouldn't know everybody, wouldn't get the chance to bond with everybody, wouldn't get to speak to everybody. And the company slowly started to disintegrate. And it's interesting how something small like a lunch, something that other people would see as an expense, and this is where a lot of people used to always warn me about accountants, because accountants will very often just look at an expense and say the expense needs to be cut. And rather than look at the human and personal value of it and see the what's the best way to describe it? So you look at the psychology behind it. The psychology is that 8,000 is actually an investment in everybody being able to work together well, so that you have less arguments, less disagreements, less misunderstandings, all of these different kinds of things. So you really want to be able to make sure that you have the ability to be able to have everybody bond, to have everybody understand each other, to have the time together. And you can be generous with the money in this case. And rather than just look at that and say that's an expense, we need to cut it, see the personality and the psychology and everything else behind it that allows it to become successful, which allows the company to be more profitable. Because this company had a lot of people that would come to the boss and say, oh, I have ideas, I have this, maybe we can do something, let's do this way, let's test this, and when the lunches were cut out, people didn't feel the connection to the management because they didn't meet the management. The management was always at these lunches as well, by the way. And so the management wasn't there anymore. The connection was lost. People didn't feel that they were able to be open and communicate to the management. So there were less ideas, and the company slowly started to disintegrate and go down. Now, that company no longer exists, from what I understand. They brought the old owner back in as an advisor, but he no longer was able to get the company to where it needed to be. The new accountants only saw him as an advisor and wouldn't allow him to actually make the changes, only give advice. And that advice was not taken, and the company went down. So very, very interesting and very important. When it comes to tough love, I am not a very big fan of tough love. I have always been extremely diplomatic. And maybe that is a fault of mine. Maybe that is something that I need to work on. So, definitely something that we can have a think about. And I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this. So, at the end, I will share my Instagram and you can write to me and let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think that it would be good to have more tough love and hold everybody to higher standards? Or do you think that a little bit of diplomacy goes a long way? Because I very quickly get offended when somebody gives me tough love. I like to defend myself and feel as if I need to be able to have that trust from people. So there are obviously very conflicting thoughts on this idea of tough love. Those are my very quick thoughts on just what we've read so far, which is only one paragraph or two or three paragraphs. Let's continue, and I'm keen to hear your thoughts, and you can type them into Bigo if you want to share your thoughts and ideas, or you can send them to me at Instagram. Actually, I'll give the Instagram right now. business_team_6_official, and would love to see you there. So let me know what your thoughts are on tough love. Let's continue. Think about some of the toughest experiences in life. I bet it is as true for you as it has been for me that going through them with people you cared about, who cared about you, and who were working as hard as you were for the same mission was incredibly rewarding. As hard as they were, we look back on some of these challenging times as our finest moments. For most people, being part of a great community on a shared mission is even more rewarding than money. Numerous studies have shown there is little to no correlation between one's happiness and the amount of money one accumulates. Yet there is a strong correlation between one's happiness and the quality of one's relationships. Actually, this is a very interesting one because there are different kinds of people. Now, obviously, there are two different views to this as well. So there are people who like to work hard. There are the kinds of people who go to work and they want the day to be busy. They want the day to go a little bit faster. And they like it when they're in a high pressure situation. People who are in hospitality, for example, when the lunch service gets extremely busy. And then there are also the people who like to look for shortcuts and who like to do things the easy way. Now, I've been in both and I like a little bit of both. But you have these two different kinds. When we look back throughout history, though, if we look back to our roots and our origins, and if we look back to our ancestors, the monkeys and the apes that turned into humans, they obviously did not have easy lives, and they would have always had to fight for and work for everything that they needed to get. So they would wake up in the morning, they'd have to protect themselves from predators, they'd have to make sure that they walked in the right places, did the right things. They would have to chase after food. They would have to either hunt or they would have to forage. And they would spend most of their day doing tasks that would get them to their goals, which was to be able to eat, to be able to procreate, to be able to do all of these different things. And all of these things would require effort. And that effort would be rewarded with the ability to survive another day, the ability to be able to eat, the ability to be able to do all of these different things that animals do. I always find it very interesting to have a look at what is going on in the animal kingdom and what kind of lives they lived, and think back to the fact that we actually come from that place. So from that, we do see that there obviously is intrinsic rewards that are biologically linked to us working hard and achieving more challenging things. And I suppose tough love is also a part of the way nature works, because though I think nature looks at it differently. So, for example, you will see animals very often together, and if one animal is annoyed by another, it will just shout at the other, and the other one will get the message, and they will just go on with everything. So I think to that degree, it's okay to be able to very quickly tell somebody, look, I think we should be doing it this way, and then move on. I think it's not such a good thing to be able to then dwell on it. I think as modern humans, sometimes we dwell on the things that we see. So we'll notice that something doesn't go right, we'll get upset with it, but we dwell in it. So we stay in that and hold on to it. And one of the easiest ways to actually, speaking of primates and monkeys and different things, One of the ways in which monkeys used to be captured is because they hold on to things. And this is what we don't want to do. So when we're upset about something, we need to find a solution to it and move on. When we have an issue, we need to find a solution and move on. And as humans, it's very important for us to move on. So one way in which they catch monkeys in Africa is they will put a hole in a tree or a wall or something, and they will make it so that it is just big enough for a monkey's hand to fit through. And then they will they'll hold a stone and they'll look at it and pretend that it's food and put that stone or put that food into that hole. Now, the monkey is going to go up to that tree when the person has disappeared, and the person has been hiding behind a tree, keeping an eye on this monkey. And the monkey will walk up to the tree, put its hand in, grab and hold on to whatever it is that's inside that tree, but not be able to take their hand out because the fist doesn't fit through. So the hand by itself will fit through into that hole, but the fist with the food in it is not going to fit through that hole. Now, the monkey could very easily escape by dropping the food and taking the hand out and running away. But monkeys are a little bit like modern humans in that sense. They will refuse to let go of that stone or that food because they're so curious about what it is and they're so worried about losing it and missing that opportunity that they will hold on to it. They will hold on until the human comes over and just grabs the monkey. Now they have to let go of it because they've been captured, and so they then let go of it, and that's the end of the story for the monkey. Whatever the monkey then gets used for. Very often that monkey then gets used for finding water, by the way. And so in Africa, what they do is they capture monkeys and then they give the monkey salt, and the monkey eats this salt, and the monkey loves the salt. But the challenge is that the monkey then gets very, very thirsty. And so humans are able to find water sources by capturing animals, making them very thirsty, and then following them to their watering hole. So if you're ever in a desert, you want to be able to capture an animal, make it thirsty, and then get it to bring you to where the water is. And that is one way of surviving. So, wow, we've really gone off topic, and that's a really interesting thing to have a look at for a Tuesday morning. How interesting, how interesting. Okay, let's continue. And yes, hopefully you're enjoying the very interesting thoughts that have been coming up today. And I see lots of hearts coming through and lots of very interesting things happening on the Bigo, so really appreciate that. So many amazing people joining. So ID 38 25 67 28 9, thank you for the hearts. And everybody else that's been joining, Deco Rossi and L87 Prance and Lucky Boy just joined, and ODPR rejoined again, Akash Olaka. Let's continue reading. It's great having you all here, and I really appreciate you being here. I laid this out in a memo to Bridgewater in 1996. Bridgewater is not about plodding along at some kind of moderate standard. It is about working like hell to achieve a standard that is extraordinarily high, and then getting the satisfaction that comes along with that sort of super achievement. Our, our overriding objective is excellence, or more precisely, constant improvement. A superb and constant improving company in all respects. Conflict in the pursuit of excellence is a terrifying thing. There should be no hierarchy based on age or seniority. Power should lie in the reasoning, not the position of the individual. The best ideas win, no matter who they come from. Criticism by oneself and by others is an essential ingredient in the improvement process, yet if handled incorrectly can be destructive. It should be handled objectively. There should be no hierarchy in the giving or receiving of criticism. Teamwork and team spirit are essential, including intolerance of substandard performance. This is referring to one's recognition of the responsibilities one has to help the team achieve its common goals, and two, the willingness to help others work within a group towards other common goals. Our fates are intertwined. One should know that others can be relied upon to help. As a corollary, substandard performance cannot be tolerated anywhere because it would hurt everyone. Long-term relationships are both A, intrinsically gratifying. I'm going to drink a little bit quickly. Throat's getting a little bit dry. Long-term relationships are both A, intrinsically gratifying, and B, efficient and should be intentionally built. Turnover requires retraining and therefore creates setbacks. Money is a byproduct of excellence, not a goal. Our overriding objective is excellence and constant improvement at Bridgewater. To be clear, it is not to make lots of money. The natural extension of this is not that you should be happy with little money. On the contrary, you should expect to make a lot. If we operate consistently with this philosophy, we should be productive and the company should do well financially. There is comparatively little age and seniority-based hierarchy. Each person at Bridgewater should act like an owner, responsible for operating in this way and for holding others accountable to operate in this way. So very, very powerful. And this makes me think of a couple of things. One, it makes me think of a couple of things that I have experienced throughout my own life. So one thing that I would like to improve with my businesses is the fact that I've noticed that throughout my life, when I was working when I was younger, which I haven't done for a long time, but I just realized that I worked for a lot of places where things were not held to a high standard. So I worked for places where a lot of people would look at it and say that that business was not really that great. I worked in a lot of places where there was a lot of gossip among the staff about the things that were not going right at that business. Now, I never enjoyed that, and I didn't feel that that was right. So I always wanted to foster a place where there was a lot more structure and understanding. But maybe that understanding has undermined some of the things that I have done. The other thing that I've been thinking about with regards to this last section is that I suppose because of that experience, I probably have never really set up my business to hold up such high standards. And because I've then become a pacifist through the things that I saw when I was younger, there was a lot of violence when I was growing up, when I was very young. And so that made me more of a pacifist. It made me the kind of person that doesn't like conflict very much, or doesn't like telling people how I really see it. So I think those are some things that I can work on, and I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm very often surrounded by very strong people who will give me their opinion. And then when I give my opinion, I tend to feel that my opinion is not taken as strongly as the way that I take the opinion that others give, or that I feel that I have the ability to give my opinion in the same kind of way. So I suppose this is why it's so good to be open-minded and to read and to learn and implement from the things that we read. It's given me a lot of things for me to think about today. So we might leave it there. We're at a next section. A believably weighted idea meritocracy is the best system for making effective decisions. I'm already not sure if I agree with that, because just because Bridgewater has a believably weighted idea meritocracy, that doesn't mean it is the best. I'm sure that there are plenty of other businesses that have a completely different system, but those systems also work. But let's leave that for the discussion for tomorrow. Today, I am very much keen to have a look into where I am at with regards to my what's the word that I'm thinking of? My diplomacy. I tend to be very diplomatic. My ability to be able to give my opinion when other people are giving me a very strong opinion. I tend to find that that's something that I might need to work on. So lots of very interesting things with regards to tough love and the thoughts around that, and the fact that I used to work at places where there was not that much tough love, not very high standards. And I was actually already thinking about it this morning before we started reading, whether it would be good to see if I can find some different ways of doing some of the things that I've been doing to avoid some of the challenges that I have had recently. So, great chapter, some great insights, and we are looking forward to continuing tomorrow with the next section, which hopefully will also give us just as many amazing things that we can think about in order to make some changes so that we can get better results and achieve our goals and objectives in life. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed that. And if you would bookmark into the right page before I close the book, otherwise we won't know where we're starting off from. Probably will, but that's another story. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you would like to watch the replays, you can watch the videos on YouTube. You can find the videos at the Passive Cash Flow Club. Lots of videos of all of the chapters of Ray Dalio's Principles, which you've been reading. There's also a lot of videos of Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I read with my commentary, and The Art of Thinking Clearly. I cannot believe how long I've already been doing this and how many books we have already read together. So it's been really amazing. If you'd like to get in touch, if you have any questions, we also put answers to your questions up on the YouTube channel. So make sure that you subscribe so that you know when one of those questions and answer sessions has been recorded and uploaded. So make sure you get your questions across to me, whether it's a question about the economy, whether it's about wealth creation, passive income, investing, whatever you would like to ask, we are happy to find the answers and give you the answers to those. So send those through, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you'd like to ask those questions, make sure you get in touch on Instagram. You can find me at business_team_6_official. And I would love to get to know you. So many amazing people that I see on the screen, but I'm just sitting here talking to my computer and talking to my phone. I would love to be able to get to know you a little bit more personally. And you can do that by reaching out on Instagram. Okay, we're going to leave it at that. Remember to make the switch to unlock your rich, because doing the same thing will get you the same results. So make some changes. You might find some ways that don't work as well, but eventually you'll find things that are going to get you better results. There's a more effective and a faster way to doing everything. So make that switch to unlock your rich. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow for another reading. Appreciate you being here. And I'm going to quickly jump across to Bigo and say hello to everybody over there. And I'll see you all tomorrow. And thanks for joining.